So for those of you who don't know me, or only from Facebook, my name is Veronica. I am the Chief Happiness Officer for WeVo. Oh, yeah, even like more. It's my favorite thing. So I just want to highlight a couple of members who are here while they're playing with this and getting this all figured out. So who knows what WeVo is? Because I'm imagining you talked to Brett or are a member, correct? We're all mostly on the same page. Who wants to feel brave? And was it Cece? Ceci, pardon me, Ceci. Does someone want to tell Ceci what WeVo is real fast? Who feels confident in that shortness? Yes, please.
We evolve.
We evolve, exactly. I love it, thank you. We evolve together. That's what this group is. That's what we do. We come together for us to evolve in life and business. It has to be together. So with that being said, we do have some tremendous members here. I'm representing one for the Center for the New Age in Sedona. We also have Creative Gateways as well. Please, if you want to raise your hand, she's running tech right now with Sharon. We have Justin in the back from Reno, who drove all the way down here. We have quite a few people here. Janina, who is here in Cottonwood. We have Vina in Sedona, Cheryl, Artem, this whole crowd back here. Mostly. Well, I'm optimistic, soon to be.
Tommy and Kate, and we got Steve and Marjorie.
Steve and Marjorie over here. They run the Power Breakfast in Phoenix. So this is a very collaborative club that loves to come together. So if you guys find that you are in Sedona, please don't hesitate to check out, because you're already in one. Can we give Lisa, where did you go?
I give her, she's in the back.
Okay, can we be so loud that she can hear us? That was an amazing lunch that she could Steve and Lisa have been longtime supporters of us at WeVo as well. Members too, Hank and Sharon. They say Sedona marketing, but what most people don't realize is really ULOF marketing. They're based out of LA too. They have a lot of expertise in that field. Don't give me that look, Hank. I see you there.
It wasn't for you.
It's for the projector. I'm going to say it's for the projector.
Oh, yeah, it was.
So with that being said, I get just a couple of minutes. To tell you also about the mastermind happening tonight. So I know some of you have to go back to Phoenix a little bit earlier. If you were able to stay, we really encourage you, because this is one of the favorite things that I've been super excited about launching is the mastermind. This is actually, for those who are participating, even in the smaller groups, to the event that we're going to have this evening. This is the official launch of the WeVo Mastermind. So it's a big deal that we're incredibly excited about. And so that'll be happening at 3 Kings Casbar. I believe that is from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, depending on what we want for lunch.
Just a social, wine social.
Okay. 6 to 8 for who wants to stay for the mastermind. And that'll be incredibly powerful, because that'll be actually getting into the WeVo mastermind, the structure about building out life and business further. We're getting small doses of it over here as we're moving along, but we'll get the even bigger one.
Yeah, and if you want a little tip on what to kind of research before you get here, it's AI, artificial intelligence. We're going to have a discussion on AI. Yeah.
Oh.
That's news to me, so good. I'm glad I got that one too.
Really?
Because this is actually going to impact your life in a major way, and it's worth talking about.
Beautiful.
So that's what we'll be doing.
Beautiful, coming from the horse's mouth. So I get the pleasure of representing the center for just a couple of minutes in the field that I am extraordinarily fond of before I bring up Barry and Catherine, who I know are eager, and I'm excited to hear about as well. I know, he's just itching back there, to come up and learn more about what they do and how they're able to support. But I wanted to expand on somewhat of what Lynn had been speaking of. So I come from a very different vantage point. I come from a childhood of not being happy. I know, right? It happens to a lot of us, but very, very unhappy. So when someone asks me what my dream is, and there's a myriad of reasons, and it's an old story that doesn't need to be said, but I can tell you that's where a lot of my motivation comes from, because I will tell you why I'm so passionate about happiness is because it's what I want. I don't like not feeling happy. You feel, I mean, we literally say you have a skip in your step when you're happy. When we're depressed, it's not only emotionally depressed, it's physically depressed. And so emotions are a realm, besides the fact I'm an empath, I work at the Center for the New Age, doing life and emotional transformation as a psychic over there. So I help people find their blocks that they may not even be able to recognize themselves. Sometimes, most of the times we do. And then really start expanding that out so we can feel safe. We can change those dendrites. We can change those neural pathways. So what I wanted to offer today was just a quick little explanation as to the power of emotion and why it's so important in our lives to be responsible for, to not feel it like the weather, because it does change. Our emotions change like the weather, but they do physically affect us. But to get you to believe it in a place where you're a little bit elevated from it, I'm going to walk you through a quick exercise. Integrate it if you so choose. Test and measure everything. We talk a lot about accuracy. Make sure this is accurate for you, and the more you own it, the more of an interesting rabbit hole it gets to be in its simplicity. We like to make life a lot more complicated than it actually is. So, for the most part, does everyone here have an understanding that they're not their body? A fair few of you. You're not a hair follicle. You're not your leg. You're not your nose. You're not the pain that you go through or an injury that you've had. You may carry the scars from that. You may carry the memories from that, but that's not you, right? We can buy that. All right. Well, you're not your thoughts either. I think, therefore I am is not accurate. Again, I'm a very grounded person. I'll prove it to you. I think and can observe those thoughts. Henceforth, I know that I am. We are the observer of our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. Like your hair follicles, you have too many to say, I am this thought. There's way too many. And when you meditate, you start seeing that further and further. We are the observer. We're a little bit more than what we initially see. So I dare say most people in here know what happiness is, right? But would anyone like to be brave enough to actually say they're the walking embodiment of happiness 24/7? No, absolutely not. Like the weather, as I mentioned earlier, we experience our emotions, but we are not our emotions. They will change. It will absolutely change. So then what are we? Well, I like to put it in terms that's most accurate that I found in my life, but we're energy. We're energy. You can call it hand of God, spark of God, mini God, whatever you like, but we're the energy behind it all. Now, some people want energy to be way too woo-woo, and it can be. I've seen some weird things in my life. We all have, and we'll write it off, and that's okay. But energy is also how you hear me. You were talking to Lynn earlier, she talked about waves, sound waves interpreted by 3 bones in your ear. That hopefully we're on the same page mostly with language. Hopefully. The language really is only about 15% of our understanding of the world if we're going to be generous. All right, so what does that mean? Why does that become important? Well, because our thoughts are our short-term measure of where we are. But our emotions are a bigger one, and then your physical well-being is an even longer one. But the emotions give you a good gauge of where you're at. If you're out of alignment or in alignment, as Brett was talking about earlier, or a chiropractor would say. Because what happens is when we experience an emotion, how many people have heard doctors say, don't be stressed? If you're stressed, you're gonna have hypertension, heart attack, and die. Everyone goes, awesome, thanks for adding more stress to my plate without a way to fix it. Yeah. Well, the reason being, which is really cool how science is catching up to spirit in this, is that when you're stressed, you release a hormone cocktail, predominantly cortisol and adrenaline, a couple other things. Short doses, it's fine. It's your fight or flight hormone. You can focus longer, faster, run further, faster, all that jazz. Sustained periods of time, though, it causes it. I'm going to give you a truncated version. It's a little bit more complicated this, but it stops blood flow to particular areas, which destroy soft tissues, and it will eventually cause hypertension and then potential heart attack. So our emotions, compounded with time, do physically affect us. It has everything to do with dendrites and how our cells receive those hormones. Those hormones plug into those cellular receptor sites. As she mentioned earlier, those are the brains of the cell. So they will actually change depending on how we feel. Now, some days we feel bad. That's accurate. But it gives us that place to reevaluate and say, why do I feel bad? Why am I in conflict in this place? That's really important when we're coming into mastermind. Why does that rub up against me? It could be an old program, absolutely, and there are tons of ways to change that. As Brett mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Mel Robbins' The 5-Second Rule. I'm also a big fan of meditation, but that's not feasible for everybody in a practical, tangible way. I wish it were, because I do it all the time, but it's not. So with that, when we start looking at how we feel, it gives us every place to be able to engage and to choose a little bit, getting closer a little bit more and more to that dream that we want. A little bit more. So it should inspire us. I work with a lot of people who are like, I don't know what my passion is. I don't have a passion. Because oftentimes when we see passion, we just see the flames of passion. We don't actually see the spark that created it. It's very rare that someone says when they're 4, I want to be a librarian, and then they end up being a librarian. It happens though. We may know 1 or 2 people who are like that, but other people find their passions later in life. What I would leave you with your emotions is when you're looking at where you're at, also know what your dream is with how you feel, because it'll make it more real for you. Because again, it does physically manifest. And when it comes to passion, what I would leave you with in that too, is that passion is everything to do about where you feel energized. That's where you find that spark. If something is giving you more energy than it's taking away, that's your passion. So like Brett said, it's not work to work on Wevo. It's not work for me to strive to make people happy. Someone asked me, are you going to be at the harvest at 5:30? I'm like, I wake up at 5 anyways, and it's a Wevo member in need. It makes me happy to do that. So yes, I will be there, even if it means I need to wake up at 4. But it becomes important, and when we're looking at that further perspective of dreams, of taking responsibility for those emotions that are associated with them as well, and having that bigger understanding that they are a compass. We are not our emotions. We can change them, we can strive for them, or we can choose. Yeah, maybe we're upset at the person behind us, but I'm going to choose to love them instead, because if I'm the worst thing that happened to them today, then they've had a pretty good day, and that's what I'm hoping for. I hope. LA drivers over there might disagree. So with that being said, I hope that's a decent transition, and we got it up, which is perfect.
I'll come up.
Oh, absolutely, good, because he knows much more about these two than I do. So I'm going to bring Brett back up to be able to tell us about a little bit more about what we're looking at the rest of for the afternoon and some of our tremendous speakers that we have coming up. So if you would please, round of applause for our founding CEO.
She is one of my great teachers when I'm taking input. You guys didn't catch that? Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
I got the win. Win is the operative word. Yeah.
Sometimes you shut it down. You already know inside. And you got too much crap going on, and everybody's saying this and that and do this and do that. So I really mean it when I say when I'm taking input. Sometimes I'm not. I've got to sort it out. Right? You should read this book. For what purpose should I? Do you know my purpose? Before you recommend that book, do you know my purpose? If it doesn't serve it, why would I read it? Why would I put that in my head? Now, when we were talking about specific things, we recommended specific books if they serve the purpose that we're talking about. But I don't know, did you read The Cat in the Hat? It's actually a great book, by the way. But awesome. Okay, so you get it, right? So that's how I view input. And so it's all about input. It's all about perception. You're taking in information, and then from that, causality is empowered, and then effect, and then you test and measure, right?